Good morning. Today I am going to start the seminar on the topic economic integration. The term economic integration we have already studied in the degree classes. Let's start our seminar. The economic integration. It is a theory, and the theory of economic integration is an arrangement among the nations that typically includes the reduction or elimination of trade barriers and the coordination of monetary and fiscal policy. The theory of economic integration is mainly concentrated on the reduction or elimination of trade barriers in the industry and industrialization, and the trade barriers that will leads to elimination the trade barriers among nations, and it will help to coordinate the monetary and fiscal policies. And the economic integration aims to reduce cost for both consumers and producers, and, and to increase trade between the countries involved in the agreement. And the economic integration is mainly concentrated on the elimination of or but a reduction in the trade barriers among the nation, and it will help to coordinate the fiscal and monetary policies. And the economic integration mainly aims to reduce cost for both consumers and producers, and to increase the trade between the countries involved in the agreement. The countries an agreement is formed in two or more countries that will involve an increase in the trade, and they will reduce the cost both in consumers and producers. Or it refers to an arrangement whereby countries combine into a larger economic region through the removal of discontinuous and discrimination existing along national frontiers, while following a common tariff and trade policies against the countries outside the group. And the economic integration will follow a common tariff rate and a trade policy, and they will discriminate or discontinuous the large economic disparities and large trade barriers, and they will the economic integration removes the discontinuous and discrimination existing along national frontiers, and they will follow a common tariff and trade policies against the countries outside the group. The economic integration is constructed on the domestic and international boundaries, and they will set a policy in the economic region, or they will set to make an arrangement whereby countries combine into a larger economic region through the removal of discontinuous and discrimination existing along national frontiers. The main characteristics of economic integration is thus the abolition of discrimination with the area. It means the discrimination, the abolition of or abandon or removal of discrimination within an area. An area area have a discrimination in the trade and monetary policy, and as well as a fiscal policy. The economic integration is mainly aims to reduce the economic discrimination in that particular area. The economic integration can be understood both as a process and a state of affairs. As a process, it is concerned with the measures which aim at the abolition of discrimination between economic units belonging to different national states. As a state of affairs, it can be treated as an area comprising of different national states among which there is an absence of various forms of discrimination. As we can understand the economic integration as in the two ways, as a process, as a state of affairs. As in the case of a process, it is concerned with the measures which aim at the abolition of discrimination between economic units. It is concerned as a measure which will be aimed to reduce or abolish the discrimination between economic units belonging to different national state. Different national states have discriminate in their economic policies, monetary policies, and price strategies. And as a process, it is concerned with a measure which is aimed at the abolition of discrimination between economic units belonging to different nation state. As a state of affairs, It can be treated as an area comprising of different nation states among which there is an absence of various forms of discrimination. As the state of affairs, the economic integration as a state of affairs, it can be treated as an area comprising of different nations. ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് നാഷൻസിലെ ഒരു ഏരിയ ആയി കണക്കാക്കപ്പെടും. സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ഓഫ് അഫയേഴ്സിൽ എക്കണോമിക് ഇൻറ്റഗ്രേഷൻ ഒരു ഏരിയ, അതിലെ ഒരു ഏരിയ ആയി കണക്കാക്കപ്പെടും. ആ ഏരിയയിൽ നിന്നുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് നാഷൻസിലുണ്ടാവുന്ന വേരിയസ് ഫോംസ് ഓഫ് ഡിസ്ക്രിമിനേഷനെ റെഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ സഹായിക്കുന്നു. ആൻഡ് ദ എക്കണോമിക് ഇൻറ്റഗ്രേഷൻ makes an absence of various forms of discrimination in the form of to make a better monetary and fiscal policies together with the two nations, and they will reduce or eliminate the trade barriers between two countries. That's all. The major benefits of economic integrations are economies of scale, international specialization, qualitative improvement in output, expansion in employment, improvements in terms of trade, increase in economic efficiency, improvements in the living standards. The major benefits of economic integration. First one is economies of scale. Economic integration is mainly to increase the economies of scale, which will the commodity includes in a trade, or the production of a commodity becomes more efficient, and the companies can achieve economies of scale by increasing their production and lowering cost. International specialization. The tendency of the international specialization is which means economic integration can increase increase to their products in international markets, and they have to, when a nation concentrates its production efforts on producing a limited values of goods and service in which they are really effort. And the specialization means the tendency of a country to specialize in certain products which they trade for other goods, and they will specialize in a certain products to be more efficient, and they will make a better profit or better earnings from the specialization of a certain product. And qualitative improvement in output. The resulting output must be qualitative in nature. And expansion in employment. The international economic integration makes an expansion in employment by domestically and internationally. When two nations, domestic and international nations, come together for making a trade, and they will earn a better benefits from their trade, and that will lead to an expansion in employment situations. Improvements in terms of trade. For every units of, and the terms of trade means the ratio of exports to imports, and the improvements in terms of trade. What is the benefit of economic integration in terms of trade? The terms of trade, for every unit of export sold, it can buy more units of importable goods. That will lead to domestic cost to push inflation. Or the improvements in terms of trade means that for every units of export sold to different country, that will lead to an increase in the importable commodity, that will lead to an increase in the imported goods ratio. Increase in economic efficiency. When the economy at the peak, that will lead to allocative efficiency in the production of an economy. When the goods and factors of production in an economy are distributed or allocated to the most valuable users, that will lead to the Pareto efficiency condition. The economic efficiency must be lead to a Pareto efficiency condition that will make a better economic framework in our nation. The economic integration makes a better economic efficiency, and that will economic integration will increase the economic efficiency. Improvements in the living standards. The economic integration will increase the living standards of the people. And the next one is degrees or forms of economic integration. There are 5 types of economic integrations are here. First one is preferential trade agreements. and second one is free trade area, third one is customs union, and fourth one is common market, and finally economic union. The degree of economic integration ranges from preferential trade arrangements to free trade areas, customs unions, common markets, and economic unions. First one, preferential trade arrangements. Preferential trade arrangements provide lower barriers on trade among participating nations than on trade with non-member nations. The preferential trade arrangement provides a lower trade barriers on the participation nation with the non-member nation, and പാർട്ടിസിപ്പേഷൻ നാഷനിന് ഒരു ട്രേഡ് റെസ്ട്രിക്ഷൻസ് കുറച്ചായിരിക്കും. പ്രൊവൈഡ് ലോവർ ബാരിയേഴ്സ് ഓൺ ട്രേഡ് എമംഗ് participating nations than on trade with the non-member nations. This is the loosest form of economic integration. This is the first form of economic integration. The best example of preferential trade arrangement is the British Commonwealth Preference Scheme established in 1932 by the United Kingdom with members and some former members of the British Empire. Next one is free trade area. A free trade area is the form of economic integration wherein all barriers are removed on trade among members. അതായത് ഫ്രീ ട്രേഡ് ഏരിയ എന്നത് ഒരു എക്കണോമിക് ഇൻറ്റഗ്രേഷൻ്റെ ഒരു ഫോമാണ്. വെറിൻ ഓൾ ബാരിയേഴ്സ് ആർ റിമൂവ്ഡ് ഓൺ ട്രേഡ് അമംഗ് മെമ്പേഴ്സ്. അതായത് ട്രേഡിലുണ്ടാകുന്ന എല്ലാ ബാരിയേഴ്സും റിമൂവ് ചെയ്തു. മെമ്പർ നേഷൻസിൻ്റെ ട്രേഡിലുണ്ടാകുന്ന എല്ലാ ബാരിയേഴ്സും റിമൂവ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു ഫോം ഓഫ് എക്കണോമിക് ഇൻറ്റഗ്രേഷനാണ് ഫ്രീ ട്രേഡ് ഏരിയ. But each nation retains its own barriers to trade with the non-members. അപ്പോൾ മെമ്പർ നേഷൻസിലെ ട്രേഡിൻ്റെ എല്ലാ ബാരിയേഴ്സും റിമൂവ് ചെയ്തു. പക്ഷേ ഓരോ നേഷൻസും റീറ്റെയിൻസ് ദേ വിൽ റീറ്റെയിൻ ഇറ്റ്സ് ഓൺ ബാരിയേഴ്സ് ടു ട്രേഡ് വിത്ത് നോൺ മെമ്പേഴ്സ്. ഇപ്പോൾ ഓരോ നേഷൻസും നോൺ മെമ്പേഴ്സുമായി ട്രേഡ് നടത്താൻ വേണ്ടി അവരുടേതായ ട്രേഡ് ബാരിയേഴ്സ് നിലനിർത്തി പോരുന്നു. The best examples are the European Free Trade Association formed by the United Kingdom, Austria, Denmark, Norway, Portugal, Sweden, and Switzerland in 1916. The North American Free Trade Agreement formed by the United States, Canada, and Mexico in 1993, and the Southern Common Market formed by Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay in 1991. And each nation retains its own barriers to trade with non-members. The best examples are the European Free Trade Association formed by the United Kingdom, Austria, Denmark, Norway, Portugal, Sweden, and Switzerland in 1960. The North American Free Trade Agreement formed by the United States, Canada, and Mexico in 1993. The Southern Common Market formed by Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay in 1991. ഇപ്പോൾ ഈ മറ്റേ 1960ലെയും 1993 1991 ഫോം ചെയ്ത ഓരോ ഈ ട്രേഡ് അഗ്രിമെൻറ്റ് ഓസ്ട്രേലിയ, ഡെൻമാർക്ക്, നോർവേ പോലുള്ള രാജ്യങ്ങൾ ഫോം ചെയ്ത ട്രേഡ് അഗ്രിമെൻറ്റ് ദേ വിൽ റീറ്റെയിൻ ഇറ്റ്സ് ഓൺ ട്രേഡ് ബാരിയേഴ്സ് ടു ട്രേഡ് വിത്ത് നോൺ മെമ്പർ നേഷൻസ്. ആൻഡ് നെക്സ്റ്റ് വൺ ഈസ് കസ്റ്റംസ് യൂണിയൻ. എ കസ്റ്റംസ് യൂണിയൻസ് allows no tariffs or other barriers on trade among members. അപ്പോൾ കസ്റ്റംസ് യൂണിയൻസ് മെമ്പർ നേഷൻസിലേക്ക് ഒരു ട്രേഡിലെ മെമ്പർ നേഷൻസിൻ്റെ ട്രേഡിന് allows no tariffs or other barriers on trade among member nations, and in addition it harmonizes trade policies such as the setting of common tariff rates. അപ്പോൾ കസ്റ്റംസ് യൂണിയനിലെ എക്കണോമിക് ഇൻറ്റഗ്രേഷൻ്റെ വേറൊരു ഫോമാണ് കസ്റ്റംസ് യൂണിയൻ. It allows no tariffs or other barriers on trade with among member nation. മെമ്പർ നേഷനുമായി ട്രേഡ് നടത്തുമ്പോൾ അവിടെ താരിഫ് ബാരിയേഴ്സ് കൊണ്ടുവരാതിരിക്കുക. Allows no tariff or other barriers on trade among member nations, and in addition it harmonizes it to be suitable together, and they will fit in well with each other. The two nations will fit together with the common tariff rate, and such as the setting of a common tariff rate toward the rest of the world. The most famous example of a customs union is the European Union or European Common Market, formed in 1957 by West Germany, France, Italy, Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. The European Union will harmonize the trade policies between two nations two or more nations, which allows no tariffs or trade barriers with on trade with non-member countries and among nations among member countries. Uh, Next one is common market. A common market goes beyond a customs union by also allowing the free movement of labor and capital among member nations. The European Union achieved the status of a common market at the end of 1992. A common market goes beyond a customs union. It is more. It is to more than a customs union by also allowing the free movement of capital and labor among member nations. അപ്പോൾ ലേബറും ക്യാപിറ്റലും മെമ്പർ നേഷൻസിന് ഫ്രീ മൂവ്മെൻ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ഫ്രീ മൂവ്മെൻറ്റ് ഓഫ് ക്യാപിറ്റൽ ആൻഡ് ലേബർ among member nations. The European Union achieved the status of a common market at the end of 1992. Customs Union. The European Union is the best example for a customs union, which will in 1957. At the end of 1992, the core of the common market is the European Union. Next one is an economic union. The final form of economic integration is the economic union. An economic union goes still further by harmonizes or even unifying the monetary and fiscal policies of member states. This is the highest form of economic integration. അപ്പോൾ an economic union എന്താണ് goes still further by harmonizing. They will fit together by two or more countries or even they unifying the monetary and fiscal policies of member states. Member സ്റ്റേറ്റിലെ അതായത് മറ്റേ ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് മെമ്പർ സ്റ്റേറ്റിലെ മോണിറ്ററിയും ഫിസിക്കൽ പോളിസികളെയും ഹാർമോണൈസ് ചെയ്യാൻ, അതായത് ദേ വിൽ മോണിറ്ററി ആൻഡ് ഫിസിക്കൽ പോളിസിയെ ഒരു കുടക്കീയിൽ കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ ദേ വിൽ ഈക്വലി റെസ്പോൺസിബിൾ or they will fit well within each other. Or they have a uniformity in the monetary and fiscal policies among the member nations. This is the highest form of economic integration. An example is Benelux, which is the economic union of Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg, formed after World War II and now part of the economic union. An example of a complete economic and monetary union is the United States. അപ്പോൾ എക്കണോമിക് യൂണിയൻ്റെ ബെസ്റ്റ് എക്സാമ്പിളായത് പറയുന്നത് ബെൽജിയത്തിലെ ബെനീലെക്സ് എന്നൊരു എക്കണോമിക് യൂണിയനാണ്. അവിടുത്തെ എക്കണോമിക് യൂണിയൻ അവിടുത്തെ ഫിസിക്കൽ പോളിസികളെയും മോണിറ്ററി പോളിസികളെയും കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് യൂണിഫോം റേറ്റിൽ കൊണ്ടുപോകുന്നു. അതിലൂടെ അവിടുത്തെ മെമ്പർ നേഷൻസിൽ ട്രേഡ് നടത്താൻ ഈസി ആകുന്നു. ഒരു സെറ്റിംഗ് ഓഫ് എ കോമൺ താരിഫ് റേറ്റ്, ഒരു കോമൺ താരിഫ് റേറ്റിലൂടെ അവിടെ ട്രേഡ് നടത്തുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ എക്കണോമിക് യൂണിയൻ സ്റ്റിൽ ഫർദർ ബൈ ഹാർമോണൈസസ് or even unifying the monetary and fiscal policies of member states. This is the highest form of economic integration, and the example of the economic integration is Benelux, which is the economic union of Belgium. And after the World War II, Netherlands and Luxembourg formed an economic union. And an example of a complete economic and monetary union is the United States. And some drawbacks of economic integrations are there. The first one is nationalists or people who believe that their country is superior to other are critical of economic integration. The people or nationalists who believe that the country is superior to others, they will believe that the country is superior. That means the country is high in rank or high in status or high in quality management. It is mainly a critical of economic integration. Economic integration means an arrangement of policy that will leads to maintain a systematic record of a monetary and fiscal policy, and they will aims to reduce the elimination of trade barriers between member nations. And the main drawback of economic integration is the nationalists or people who believe that their country is superior to others are critical of economic integration. In order to appeal to nationalists, some countries employ forms of protectionism which leads to higher tariffs and less free trade between other countries. The notable feature of economic integration is the loss of individual central banks who control monetary policy. It leads to less national sovereignty, and the responsibilities of central banks are delegated to an external body instead. The external control becomes troublesome in managing fiscal and monetary policy among many different nations. The main drawback of the economic integration, first we speak that the superiority of the nation, and second one is the loss of individual central banks who control their monetary policy. The central bank who cannot control their monetary policy is the main drawback of the economic integration. It will lead to less national sovereignty, and the responsibility of the central banks are delegated to an external body. And the external control becomes troublesome in managing fiscal and monetary policy among many different nations. So, economic integration consists of an arrangement among nations that typically includes the reduction or elimination of trade barriers and the coordination of monetary and fiscal policy, and they will maintain a proper monetary and fiscal policy, and they in the member nations and non-member nations. And the various forms of economic integrations are preferential trade arrangements, a free trade area, a customs union, a common market, and an economic union. And mainly there are two drawbacks of economic integration. The first one is the country is superior to others, and the second one is the loss of individual central banks who control monetary policy. Okay, thank you.